You're listening to Stu's Wrestling Podcast. It's time for British Wrestling's sharpshooter, your host, Stu Palmer.
Here we go, episode 29, keeping the transatlantic vibe this week. It's Portland, Oregon's own, the Rock God Ricky Gibson. Ricky is a tag team specialist. He's one half of 4 Minutes of Heat with Eddie Pearl. We talk tag wrestling. We talk a bit of singles wrestling when he got his start. Ricky's been around the business since 2004, so he's got a lot to say. 4 Minutes Heat were looking to spread their wings. Had a lot of bookings on the East Coast, outside of Oregon. They wrestle in California, Nevada, you name it, they've been there. They're trying to spread their wings. Obviously, at the moment, they can't. But here we go, episode 29 with the Rock God Ricky Gibson. Enjoy. Well, it is my pleasure to have all the way from Portland, Oregon, one half of 4 Minutes of Heat, Rock God Ricky Gibson. How's it going, man?
Going great, man. How are you?
I'm all good. Thank you for coming on from across the pond. It means a lot, you guys sparing time over there to come on.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I've heard a lot of good things about you guys.
I hope you have. Right, Ricky, my first question is, I start this with all the guests. When did you begin watching wrestling? I ask all the guests this.
Yeah, when did I begin? I vividly remember sitting at a babysitter's house when I was probably like 4 years old, and one of the other kids there was like flipping through the channels and stopped at, I think it was The Undertaker and Mankind. I don't know what event it was, but they were on the screen battling it out, and it was only on there for maybe a minute, but something caught my attention, and I haven't turned away since.
Which guys jumped out of the screen at you? You know, who was some of your favourites? Who did you gravitate to as a youngster?
It changed a lot from when I was a youngster to when I started actually wrestling. But when I was young, The Undertaker, something about his character, his mystique, what he did, definitely jumped out at me. Big fan of Mankind as well. Same reasons, like just something about that character. And then Diamond Dallas Page over at WCW was huge for me. Something about like that underdog style, and then later realizing what he went through, like he was an older guy getting into wrestling, started with managing and turned over into wrestling. That was huge for me.
He proved a lot of people wrong as well, didn't he?
Oh yeah, definitely.
In fairness to him.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant. Yeah, I've met Paige before. Lovely guy.
Absolutely.
Lovely
That's
guy.
awesome.
Lovely guy. Which match types did you enjoy, Ricky?
What's that?
Which match types? What sort of match types would you say? Oh yeah, I really want to watch this. Like a stipulation as such, you know.
Stipulation wise, I don't know if there was anything necessarily that caught my attention more than another. Just the hardcore match in general. Just something about like being able to use whatever you want to be your opponent. That was a lot of fun. And then cage matches. There's just something always cool about a cage match where, no interference was allowed, just two guys in the ring duking it out.
You know, just going back to the hardcore stuff, were you watching ECW and stuff like that? Were you getting...
I was. It wasn't a whole lot of ECW when I was a kid. It wasn't until I got older, like a teenager, but WCW had a hardcore division for a little while when I was there. And WWF did as well. It wasn't anything like what you see in ECW, but it was just enough where it got my attention.
They did try with Sandman, didn't they, as Hack?
Yeah, they sure did.
He did all right over there, but yeah,
definitely different, but not bad.
Did any pay-per-view events tickle your taste buds, like stand out in the calendar? Were there any like big pay-per-views that you wanted to watch at the time as when you were a kid?
Not really. I think WrestleMania has always kind of had that mystique around it. Starrcade for WCW was the same thing. I don't know if one necessarily like name an event made it important to me, but just what was going on at the time.
That's cool. It's cool. I get that with a lot of the guys, they don't necessarily say, they all go to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
That tends to be, I've had Hell in the Cell. Pillman Jr. liked Hell in the Cell.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's what he liked. Right, just to fast forward a little bit now, when did you begin your training into pro wrestling? When did that come about?
Yeah, I was 16 years old. I was watching a local company, Portland Wrestling here. I went to a couple events, and I just happened to meet the right people. And one of the guys there got me turned on to a local school. And at 16 years old, I was still in wrestling in high school. And I was able to switch over and do some pro style. And it was every day of the week except Sundays. But, man, I every single day or 6 days a week, I would be out there wrestling 4 or 5 hours a day, nonstop.
How tough? I say this to all the guys, the wrestlers I have on, because I've had other guys on. It's another question always is, how tough did you find training? Obviously, the answer's different across the board from each.
It really is. Yeah, I've watched and talked to a lot of people about their wrestling school, like the story of what that looked like, and you always hear the stories of like the Stu Hart in the dungeon, where just hardcore training and sweating your balls off down there. My wrestling, as far as that goes, was easy. At first, I was the only student. It was me and one other guy there that was training me. We slowly added a couple students, switched a couple trainers, but it was never like it wasn't that military style. Do 50 squats, 500 squats a day. It was none of that. It was, we got in there, we had fun. And I want to say that wrestling came kind of natural to me. I was still wrestling in high school, so a lot of the agility stuff was just super easy. And of course, it was painful by all means, but it was never like this military style training like you hear a lot of people talk about.
And this will be a clip that I play to friends of mine over here that say it's fake, it's phony, all the rest of it. And I've said it. I've said it since the day dot. You get in the ring and have a go, and you tell me, and I think it'll change your opinion once you've run the ropes and done some bumping and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's funny. Funny story about that. Growing up, I had a best friend from 5th grade through, he was actually the best man at my wedding, but we grew up like, hey, we're going to be a tag team together. Like, we're going to do this. And he moved away right about the time that I started wrestling. So we kind of lost touch for a minute, but he came back to Oregon and started helping out with some of the ring crew for wrestling. And at that time, I'd been training for like 2 years, and I invited him down. I was like, dude, you got to come check it out. You got to start. And he came down, and he took one bump in the ring, and he's like, no, this isn't for me. I'm done. And that was it. I mean, he grew up. He was probably more obsessed with wrestling than I was.
Yeah.
One bump in the ring, he's like, no, I can't do it.
That was him. That was him done.
Yeah, it's really funny to think about, like how obsessed he was and how much he was determined to be a wrestler, and just one fall and he's done. It means a lot to me about how far I got.
Just to go a bit forward from that, just after training and stuff like that, have you attended any training seminars? I'm talking like with maybe some big names. You've been to some camps and stuff like that for training with anybody noteworthy as such?
Yeah, not necessarily a seminar. I get a lot of stuff from a lot of people. I try to pick people's brains and, ask questions and get advice anytime that I can. I've had the privilege of sharing the locker room with a lot of really cool people. One of my favorites, D'Lo Brown, was a agent for a company here in Oregon and down in Vegas. And anytime I could, I would pick his brain about like how could this come across? How could I do this? Like what would be good here? And D'Lo Brown is just one example, but man, there's been so many people along the way that I just try to pick their brains. And anytime I can, like, you never stop learning. That's the first thing that I learned in wrestling, was just never stop, because once you think that you know it all, like, that's when you're done.
Who and anybody else? Any other guys you've picked the brains of?
Gangrel was in Oregon for a long time, so he was another one that I wrestled him every weekend for like 6 months or something like that.
Cool, man.
So I had a lot of fun learning from Gangrel. Matt Stryker was an agent in Vegas for a while, so I got to pick his brain. And strange guy, but really intelligent when it comes to wrestling. He knows so much. Sin Bodie was another one that I wrestle a lot and learned a lot from him. But man, there's so many over the years that I've had the honor.
Quite an array of people, an array of styles as well, I suppose. Just picking little bits and bobs, putting in your tool belt.
Absolutely.
Ricky, when was your first match then? Obviously, we've talked about training, just to get a bit more into how your first matches, getting into that a little bit.
The school that I went to was called Tito's Gym, and it actually had it was in the middle of a flea market in Hillsborough. So every Saturday there'd be a flea market, like just a big garage sale with all of these people selling just the most random things you could think of. But we put a ring up outside, and we would do free shows. So anyone was allowed to come by and just watch for a little bit. They accepted donations, but most of the time it was just there for free. So my first match was at one of those shows, probably 6 months into training. So that would have been maybe October of 2004. Shortly thereafter, there was a company called PMPW. And one of my trainers, his best friend was one of the bookers there. And he saw me, and I was only 16 years old. So he made me put on a mask for the show because they were filming for TV. And they're like, I don't want your young face on TV. So I had a couple matches there. And then there was a company called West Coast Wrestling Connection that still running today. That wanted me in a mask as well because they thought I was too young, didn't look right, and I wore a mask there for a long time. So I had quite a few matches within that first year. Where it was just like everything was popping up and working for me. That's
cool, man. Good start for you then.
Yeah, definitely.
Was it obviously saying you were 16 getting into it? That's cool. That's cool, man. Going off a bit off tangent, off topic a little bit. Do you feel current wrestlers are rushed into the ring and need more training time? Because I've heard different lengths of time that people have got into the business, ranging from like a couple of months, maybe weeks, to a couple of years before their first match. What are your thoughts on that? Maybe like guys that are trying to get into the business now, young guys. What would be your advice?
Yeah, here's what I'll say is you can never have an opportunity to make a first impression again. So if you're not ready to be wrestling, people tend to remember that. Now with that, I was part of training for a little while, and people would always ask me, without question, the very first thing, first day, they say, how long until I get to have a match? And I tell them that I've known people that wrestled for 2 weeks before having a match, and I've known people that have wrestled for 2 years and still not had a match, because everyone learns at a different speed. So I don't think there's a timeline on that. Like, there's no way to say, hey, for you it's going to be 2 months or 3 months or whatever. But I would say that, like, if you think you're ready, you're probably not. Until your trainer says that you're ready. There's so many things. Like, you don't want to go out there and suck. You don't want everyone to remember your first match being just absolute garbage, because people tend to remember that. Now, smaller shows are a little bit different. You're only wrestling in front of a couple people. Maybe it's not a big deal. But, man, I think just be ready. Like, train long enough to where you feel comfortable and confident in the ring.
That's cool. That's good. Good. There'll be lads obviously over here in the UK that listen to this and watch it. It's good advice. Good advice for them starting out.
Yeah.
I know a few guys that are training. Haven't yet got in the ring. So that's interesting, man. That's cool. That's what I was after. Just you could give your your thoughts and on that. So that's good. Right, I know you're in a tag team now. Did you start off as a singles? Were you doing singles, or were you straight into tag wrestling?
Through my years, I've done a lot. I obviously started off with singles, and then I was kind of thrown into this mix of a bunch of people where we all tagged together for a little while. But I would say I spent a majority of my time wrestling singles. It's kind of a joke. There's a company here called DOA Pro Wrestling, and been running for, I think it's like 12 years now. And in that time, I've probably had like 6 or 7 tag partners, and been tag champions with, I think, 5 of them. So it's kind of the running joke, like I'm a tag team guy. But I've done a little bit of everything: tag team and singles, trios for a little while. Like it's kind of been all over the board.
Quite a mix, yeah. What do you prefer, doing the tag or the singles, or does it not matter to you?
So it doesn't matter to me, because I just like wrestling. Here's what I'll say about tag team wrestling. It's difficult when you have an idea in your head of what something's going to be like. It's hard enough in wrestling in general if it's just you and one other guy, where you have an idea, and it may not be the same idea that the guy you're across the ring from has. With tag team, there's nothing more fun and entertaining when you have 4 people that are on the same page doing the same thing, and have the same idea of what the outcome is going to be. That's a lot of fun for me. And Eddie Pearl is my tag team partner now, and him and I are on the same page 99% of the time. So it makes what I'm doing right now just a load of fun.
I was reading the background on Eddie Pearl. He's not been in the business as long as you, has he? But obviously it relays to what you were saying about how many tag partners you've had through.
Yeah.
So obviously, I'd like to get you and Eddie on together. That was the plan originally. So how is it being 4 Minutes Heat with Eddie?
Yeah, so Eddie was actually a trainee of mine down in Salem when I was training people, and he was one of those guys that just caught on really quick, and like got it. And one time DOA, one of the guys from DOA called and said, "Hey, I need you to find a new tag partner," and it just worked perfectly, where Eddie was just at that right time where he could start to train. It was supposed to be like this one-time thing. And it turned out perfect, where him and I started traveling. In fact, I had a show in California, and I said, "Hey, Eddie, jump in the car. We're going to California tomorrow." And he was like, "All right, cool." And we just started going from there. And then everything since then is just brainstorming together and growing. And it's by far the most fun I've had in pro wrestling since I started.
Oh, that's good, man. Oh, that's good to hear. I bet it's nice having. I know, obviously, you travel with people if you're doing it singly, but I bet it's cool being being in a tag team with him and traveling and doing all that with him. That's cool, man. Yeah,
I mean, there's just the time on the roads. You're driving or flying, and all you do is think about wrestling. I mean, both of us are absolutely obsessed. Where that's just 90% of what we think about is wrestling. So being able to travel and talk about ideas as we go, and how we can get better and do more, and it's all just a load of fun.
So you love the travel, and obviously going off what you're saying there, the travel's not an issue to you.
No, I love it. I mean, that's part of the whole adventure. Like there was a couple months back, we traveled. It probably doesn't mean much to you, but we traveled from Oregon to California to the other side of California, back up to Washington in one trip. And on one of those drives, it was in the middle of the night. We drove 15 hours to jump in the ring and wrestle again with 0 sleep. And it was, I mean, it sounds crazy, but it was just so much fun.
You guys over there, you'll do the mileage. We're such a small country here, but yeah. So you guys, you'll just get in the car and do it. But there'd be a lot of moaning and groaning with the Brits, I think, if they were having to put the miles in that you're putting in, especially on the independent scene over here.
Yeah. Yep. Even over here, I mean, people don't like to travel that much, but there's just something fun when you're with the right people and just get going. It's fun.
Cool, man. Obviously, you've talked about bookings in California. My next question was going to be, do you get booked outside of Oregon? I was just trying to make it statewide.
Yeah, so Oregon, there's only one company that I wrestle for in Oregon that's here all the time. There's another company that swings through occasionally, but they're mostly Washington. So yeah, I would say most of our bookings are outside of Oregon. Washington and California take up a lot of them. Over the last couple of months, we were supposed to have shows in Texas and Florida, Montana. I think there was a Colorado, Chicago. Like there was a lot of stuff supposed to be coming up. So we'll get back to it as soon as everything gets, I guess, normal again. But yeah, we're all over.
Where would you like to work outside of Oregon in the US? I know you've obviously said about places that were lined up before all this, but sorry. Carry on, Ricky. Sorry.
Yeah, I think if I had like a goal place to go, Florida and Chicago tend to be just really hopping right now. There's a lot going in those areas that I would absolutely love to check out. There's no state that I wouldn't want to go to. I want to be everywhere. That's one of my goals, is to wrestle in all 50 states in America, and then branch out to all over the world, of course. But I want to go everywhere.
Turnbuckle TV is the home of UK Wrestling On Demand, featuring over 40 UK wrestling promotions and other wrestling-related channels. Subscribe today from just $1.99 and start your free 1-month trial now.
Is wrestling fixed? I didn't know it was broken. This is Bill Apter. And in my book, titled Is Wrestling Fixed? I Didn't Know It Was Broken, you can find out all the backstage stories. What is Vince McMahon really like? What's Triple H really like? How about my relationship through the years with Ric Flair, the American Dream, Jerry the King Lawler, and much more? Go right now to Amazon.com or any place you buy your books and look for Is Wrestling Fixed? I Didn't Know It Was Broken by Bill Apter. See you at the matches.
Which wrestlers would you like to rip it up with? Firstly, as a tag team, and then secondly, if it was in a singles environment, or a triple threat environment, or a trio environment, as you said earlier about trioing. I can extend the question, Ricky. This is brilliant. Yeah. Just off your answer earlier. This is perfect.
Who do I want to wrestle with? I've always said, like, any tag team in the world that has some name value, I would absolutely love to wrestle. There's so many teams that, and I'm going to forget some when I talk about them, but of course I want to mix it up with the Rock and Roll Express. We had a match scheduled that had to get postponed and rescheduled, so hopefully that one will happen again. The Besties in the World have come up several times that I'd love to wrestle. Reno Scum was one that we've wrestled once. I would love to have a rematch with. Rock Nest Monsters out of California. I've heard a lot of really good things. I'd love to get in there with them. I'm going to forget people. There's so many tag teams that are just killing it right now that I'd love to get in there with. And then as far as singles go, I couldn't even begin to name people because there's so many. I want to mix it up with everyone. There's no one that I've looked at and gone, man, I just don't want to get in the ring with them, because there's just so much I can learn from everyone, and a different story to be told with everything. And just if their name is out there publicly, I'd love to wrestle them.
Who in the Oregon scene, aside from yourself, could be a breakout star, maybe someone that hasn't quite got to, I don't know how to say that without not sounding disrespectful. Yeah, just like somebody that you're touting within Oregon, maybe even Portland, who could be the next big thing.
If keep your eyes on Jaden. He's out of Portland. He's wrestled for quite a long time. He went down to Florida for a little while, and I think he started when he was like 12 or 13 years old, because his dad was a wrestler, and he's been around it for a while. But Jaden is going to be something special. There's a guy from Washington. I know it's not quite Portland, but from Washington named Jet Knight that I promise you, if you haven't heard of yet, you're going to. One of the most athletic guys, one of the most just natural performers that I've seen. That's gonna kill it. But man, there's a lot of stars in Portland, and it sometimes you don't see it coming where people just break out and just all of a sudden it clicks for them. I had a guy in Salem that was training that the day he showed up, I was like, this guy's never gonna make it. Like he's not going to be able to handle it. Like he's got a wife and kids. I was like, I can see now that it's just not going to work out. And he stuck around for like 6 to 8 months. And I was still like, there's no way. I can't believe he's still here, but he's not going to make it. And he's still wrestling to this day. And he just had one of those turnaround moments where just all of a sudden he got it.
So it can be done, Ricky.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
You know,
it can shock you. It can come out of nowhere. It's impressive.
That's a cool answer. That I've not had an answer like that. You know, that's cool. That's cool. Which talents outside of the independent scene? So I'm talking like obviously WWF, AEW, ROH, MLW, Impact, and it will go NXT as well. Which guys in the big, you know, the big national promotions and international promotions? Who can you see in there who's going to be amazing in years to come?
Oh, man, there's, once again, a lot. Chris Bay just got signed with Impact Wrestling. He's been to just about every other promotion out there. I can tell you now he's going to be one that stands out for sure. Again, talk about natural athletes, natural charisma, and just kind of a down-to-earth, cool guy. I can see a lot coming from Chris Bay. AEW, man, I feel like everyone in AEW's kind of made it already, but Darby Allin actually trained in Seattle, Washington. He came down and did a couple of DOA pro wrestling shows, and he was one of those guys. The second you saw him, you're like, yeah, he's gonna be great. Like, and obviously has been. I don't know. There's a lot. Yeah.
Who in NXT?
Timothy Thatcher.
Yeah.
He's probably come out there quite a few times. Timothy Thatcher is one of my favorite wrestlers because he's so different than everyone else. And he came up for Portland Wrestling a while, and it was another one of those, like, you see this guy, like, yeah, he's going to be something special. But he's not a social media guy. He's not he doesn't get his name out there from that. It's like what his reputation is 100% based on his ability in wrestling. And sometimes you'll see that. A lot of times it's like their clout because of their social media presence has got them their name. And that's not Timothy Thatcher. Like, he's built his reputation strictly on wrestling, which is really cool to see.
I know. Obviously, he's worked all over, but I was liking what he was doing in MLW. Prior, but obviously now, but you know, good for him because he's been around for so long. It's cool, and it's someone a bit different, isn't it, for NXT now? Different matches again. It'll shush it up a bit, won't it? I'll tell you what, I won't be messaging Timothy Thatcher to come on the show then.
Don't, because everything you've seen online, like, he doesn't actually have social media. So if you find his Facebook or Twitter, it's not him. It's someone else.
Someone's moonlighting as Timothy Thatcher.
Yep, exactly.
Just to extend on talents and stuff, I'm going to say about tag teams now, and it's the same. It's across the board, all the top promotions. Any tag teams that are standing out and looking really good, and maybe some that are destined in the future to do quite well, in your opinion?
As far as the major companies go, I think you already have seen what they're capable of. Obviously, the Young Bucks are kind of like the top of the top right now as far as that goes. WWE, and I struggle because I haven't paid close enough attention to it, but the tag teams in WWE are most of the time thrown together, like, not necessarily like true partners and they just get thrown in there. But there's been some really cool stuff with the NXT tag team, Matt Riddle and
Pete Dunne.
Pete Dunne. Thank you.
You can't forget Pete Dunne, Ricky.
I know.
I tell you.
They're phenomenal together.
Oh man, that guy, like, just the explosion into the world scene. But even before that, we could tell the three of them. Obviously Tyler and Trent Seven. Yeah.
Yes.
So any other tag teams?
As far as the big guys go, like no, I don't think so. Like there's. All of them have obviously been great. But
what do you think about Omega and Page together?
Who's that?
Omega and Page being together in AEW, because obviously they were put together. What your thoughts? Obviously, with them being tag champs as well.
Yeah, I've only watched a couple of their matches together. That's another one where it's like they're not. They weren't necessarily supposed to be a tag team together, right? But. Man, they are entertaining to watch. I watched that match that they had with the Young Bucks. Incredible stuff. Just absolutely incredible.
I was listening to a show. It was Conan and Disco Inferno. Conan's like, I can't believe that he hadn't seen the match for whatever reason. I can't believe that went 40 minutes. Yeah, it went 40. It went 40 minutes, and it deserves to go 40 minutes. But it's opinions, isn't it, Ricky?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
He's allowed his opinion, but it needed to be 40 minutes. I thought that match.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was nonstop. It was go the whole time. So it was very impressive.
I've learned about this. My opinion.
Yeah.
Always get that across before there's an argument. It's different. It's different. It's what you want to see, isn't it? I suppose there's so much out there now.
Yeah, I mean, just like any form of entertainment, whether it's art or a movie or a TV show, like it could be something that tickles your fancy, and the other guy just doesn't like it. So there's no right and wrong. There's no black and white. It's personal opinion forever.
Do you think WWE and AEW are right to still be running shows? What are your opinions on that? I've obviously been floating that one around in the more recent episodes, and obviously because I'm going to get different answers off you all. But what your thoughts on them still doing TV and stuff at the moment? What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think that's another one that's good to clarify with my opinion. I'm happy that they're still staying viable. It would suck for everyone if they stopped running shows and because of that went out of business. I mean, that doesn't help anyone. So yeah, there's got to be something that they're doing to stay viable. Whether it's safe to run like a public show, no, I probably don't think so. Like to fill a venue with people, that's dangerous in my opinion. But to be honest, I watched one episode of, I think it was SmackDown with no audience, and it was just the most awkward thing that I've ever watched. And it's not for me.
No, I'm on the same. I couldn't stand it, obviously, because they've been using the same guys, haven't they?
Yeah.
Obviously, the more local people and flying a few in, obviously. So it's the same, for me, it's the same rehash stuff, but Asuka at commentary just screaming down the mic, I couldn't. And she's a great talent. She's absolutely brilliant. It was like, get her off. Get that headset off her. She doesn't need to be there. They kept doing it for a couple of weeks. I was like, I don't know. That's my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I couldn't give you a better idea of what to do to stay viable. I mean, maybe like a highlight show where you just pick the latest matches. But who knows how long this is going to be? So you can't do that forever. I don't have an answer.
Sorry, carry on, mate.
Yeah, go ahead.
They were playing, obviously, in the early weeks, they were playing old matches and stuff, weren't they, to fill time up? But obviously, Vince has vetoed that now. So it is like a full 2 hours for SmackDown, 3 hours for Raw. I think they should go back to that, play some old matches, sandwich it in, Yeah.
I mean, that's what I would do, but who knows? I mean, everyone has a different opinion, so I don't know.
Did you watch WrestleMania? That was my next one.
I did not watch WrestleMania. I've heard a lot of really good things, and I think they probably did it as best that could be done. So I'm very impressed with that, but I didn't watch it.
Match of the one match I would tell you to watch, which stood out, and I was speaking to Adam Pearce about this on the QT on a private message, and it was Rhea Ripley and Charlotte. That was my favourite match of the 2 nights.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that.
Even if you just watch one match, Ricky, I'm not saying to sit through 6 hours of stuff.
Yeah,
just put that match on.
That's the one.
That was from a fan standpoint. I thought Charlotte would put Rhea over, so I was quite surprised that she beat her, But that was the one. And obviously Drew finally getting is just desserts, it was so it's been absolutely mental over here about that.
Good.
It's good having a bit of wrestling in the mainstream over here. Him winning and the build up to it as well. All the press he did over here. So
that's awesome.
A lot of casual fans have come back, obviously, because he's won the belt and stuff like that. So it's cool.
Yeah, it's perfect.
But it should have been the British Bulldog. He should have been the first UK champion.
Should have. Yeah, I agree.
Who did you like? Which UK guys did you like when you were younger?
British Bulldog was definitely one of them. I had a lot of fun watching him. I don't know. It's hard to. I didn't pay close enough attention when I was a kid, so I don't have a good answer for that.
I thought you were going to come out with a long one for me then.
Nope, I got nothing.
What about Regal?
I did very much enjoy Regal, but man, he was one that I didn't like until I got older. I did not put enough gratitude to that, because as a kid, it was William Regal. He was a bad guy. I didn't care for him. As I got older and I realized how talented he was, he's definitely one of the top for sure. I read his book when I was 17 or 18, and man, that book was absolutely incredible. One of my favorite books of pro wrestlers. One
of the toughest training schools known to man as well.
That's
what's made him what he is today as well. That was the groundwork, wasn't it? The schooling. So man. You've had a wrestling figure made of yourself. I saw it on your Instagram.
I have, yeah.
So if you'd like to tell the listeners how that came about, that's a good one to ask you.
Actually, the guy that made it is from the UK. Actually, he found me on Instagram, sent me a message several months ago saying, "Hey, can I make a figure of you?" Absolutely, you can. And so he's made a couple other ones. He made one of Zicky Dice, which is a good friend of mine.
I've had Zicky on.
yeah, he's awesome. So he posted that one a couple weeks ago now, and he's going to start production at some point, making them a lot. But I guess getting resources for him is tough right now as far as getting paints and plastics. So he's running into a little bit of an issue there. But now I'm excited. He's going to send it to me as soon as the borders open up and he can. But yeah,
it's incredible. So that the craftsmanship on it.
It's really good.
Absolutely brilliant. I was blown away when I saw the photo. It was fair play. Fair play, whoever's made that. And it's cool, he's from the UK, the guy who's made it. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, it's I collect the figures now for my nephew. It's gone full circle.
Oh, yep, that's perfect.
So my missus goes crazy. I was like, no, they're for Elliot. No, she goes, they're for you, really, aren't they? I was like, no.
Yeah, man. I collected them when I was a kid, and now my kid is starting to collect them. So, it's full circle.
I'll tell you what I watched the other night, Ricky. It was really good. It was an interview with Triple H and Lemmy from Motorhead that they'd done.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it, no.
Done 5 years ago, obviously before he passed. But you could tell he was poorly. But I enjoyed that. I was just wondering whether you might have seen it or not.
No, I would love to, because I was a big Motorhead fan as a kid. And man, when Triple H came out to their music, that was so cool.
It's just they go into the backstory of it. He wasn't happy with the original track.
Really?
I don't want to give too much away. So they show you the original track that Jim Johnson had obviously made. No. And Vince must have okayed it. I want Motorhead. And that's how it came to be. So, yeah, it's a good one to watch. It's only about 25 minutes, half an hour.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'll check it out.
And Corey Graves is anchoring it, like doing the interviewing. So,
cool.
So that's cool, man. That's cool. Right, Ricky, can you plug your social media? Obviously, yourself and then the tag team stuff as well. And we'll put it in as a visual.
Yeah, awesome. Social media. So you can find me on Instagram at rockgod_Ricky_Gibson. I'm on Twitter as at Rockin' Ricky G, and Facebook is Ricky Gibson, and then Eddie Pearl is my tag team partner. He's on Facebook as Eddie Pearl, on Instagram at Eddie Freak Nasty Pearl, and then Twitter as Eddie Freak Nasty Pearl. And then you can find us together if you search 4 Minutes of Heat on YouTube or Facebook. You can find us on there. And then finally a Patreon at patreon.com/4mh. We do a lot of cool, like little short podcasts, like behind the scenes photos and videos and stuff. We have a lot of fun doing it.
Nice little perk with the Patreon there as well. I like that, Ricky. I like how you slipped that one in there at the end. That's good. I've got one last thing to ask, actually. Vince McMahon might have his eye on you. I know I've said about Vince quite a bit, because your mindset is what's best for business.
Yeah.
And it came from the man himself, so you never know. He might spot you. He might spot you both.
He might.
Just in closing, that was just. I thought I'd ask you. You know. So there we go.
Yeah, I would. I often get asked, where would you go? Like if you had a contract from every major company, which one would you take? And I always disappoint people because I don't have a good answer for it. There's so many things that depend on like where to go. Like there's so many benefits of every major company out there, and all I can say is that we're in a really lucky time in pro wrestling for fans and for wrestlers, where if you don't like one thing, there's an option right around the corner.
Tell you what, though, there's a lot of people. You still get your people online moaning. It does my head in. If you're not happy with it, just don't watch it.
Absolutely.
I have to stop kicking off these days. I just leave them be. Like, if you do not want to watch it, don't watch it.
Yep. Turn the channel. It's easy.
It's far too negative, Ricky.
Oh, big time.
I've watched it like yourself. I've watched it. 30 years this year. Just I can't be doing with them.
I can't either. I just ignore it.
Yeah,
just completely ignore it.
I used to rise to it, so I'll keep to what you're saying. Just don't do anything. Right, Rock God Ricky Gibson, one half of 4 Minutes of Heat, and we'll get Eddie Pearl on somewhere down the line.
Awesome.
We need a tandem, a tag team.
Sounds good, man. I really appreciate you having me on. It's been a lot of fun.
I appreciate you, man. Honestly, sparing the time and coming on early your time to do it with me. Big thank you to Mike Angus for the show intro, as always. Superb. Chris Dutton, thank you very much for editing once again. Appreciate it, buddy. And also to Lee, who does my website. Lee puts the stuff up on the website. Without you guys, I'd be screwed. So once again, as always, appreciate everything you do for me and the time you spend doing the things you do for me. It means a lot, guys. And a big thank you for the show intro and the outro. It's my good pal Stephen Ash, a good school friend of mine. And it's called Keeping On, and it's by Stephen Ash. Keep your eyes peeled. Steve's got some projects going on. So yeah, that was the show intro track and outro track for today. Nice one, guys.